Buckle up, heart train passengers, because today I will be bringing you along with me on a day through dialysis. January 14th, 2024 marks 6 years that I've been back on dialysis, patiently awaiting a second kidney transplant. After 6 years, my body is worn out and tired. Every day I wake up in anticipation of receiving that call that will put an end to this life-saving yet grueling process. And so if there's one thing you do today, please consider sharing my match information or becoming a living donor. I have dialysis treatments 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And my treatment time is usually around 3.5 hours. Now, as you can see, I am with my caregiver, Emmanuel, and he brings me to and from treatment by way of my conversion van. Shout out to Fresenius, you guys are amazing. So my treatment time on Mondays and Fridays is the second shift. So I have to be there around 9:30 a.m. and I usually get out around 1:30 p.m. On Wednesdays, I am there for the first shift, which honestly I prefer because I get my dialysis done first thing in the morning and then I still have the whole day to recuperate and enjoy if I'm feeling good enough. I have to weigh myself before and after every treatment to see how much fluid I gained since my last session. Emmanuel removes the backpack containing my ventilator and I just roll right up onto the scale. How cool and practical is that? I really just love how accessible and disability friendly most places are now. It's great. From there, we just subtract the weight of my wheelchair, which is 32.1 kilograms. Dialysis does everything in kilograms. Don't ask me why. And then we usually arrive at my weight, which is about 54 to 55 kilograms, depending on how well behaved I was with my fluid intake. Okay, side note. You probably noticed that I'm not connected to the ventilator while I was getting weighed and while Emmanuel is setting everything up. That is because, thankfully, I'm still able to tolerate short periods of time being off of the ventilator. Each patient gets a recliner chair for the duration of their treatment. Do not be deceived. They are not as comfortable as they look. They are, in fact, very stiff, and being a quadriplegic is very hard for me to reposition myself on my own. So Emmanuel brings pillows and cushions just to do everything possible to keep me comfortable during my 3.5 hour treatment. Otherwise, even with the pillows, an hour, 2 hours into treatment, my tailbone is on fire. So this is the best way to prevent that and to prevent any kind of damage to my skin, such as bed sores or any kind of wounds. Also, an important reason for the recliner is that during dialysis treatment, your blood pressure can fluctuate. And so it's advised to have us in a reclined position with our legs elevated just to kind of maintain as stable of a pressure throughout the duration of treatment. I always joke with my family and friends that when I'm at dialysis, I just envision that I'm on a first-class flight to somewhere exotic. Take off my shoes, I have my neck pillow, just need someone to bring me a cocktail, and I'm good to go, ready for my adventure. Of course, that's about until 2.5 hours in, when the airplane sickness starts to hit, and I feel the headache, the nauseousness, and I just want to puke all over the flight attendant, aka my nurse. Because of the sudden shift in fluid and electrolytes, about halfway through my treatment is when I start to feel really sick. Our kidneys are essentially our filtration system. And so because I don't have any natural way of eliminating my toxins, dialysis basically acts sort of like an external kidney for me. But not without its complications. The real thing is always better. Trust me. My dialysis access site is a tunnel dialysis catheter that was placed along my right shoulder blade, and it goes into my heart. It is only accessed by my dialysis nurses and must be kept sterile, clean, and dry at all times, which obviously makes showering even more difficult than it needs to be. If you know somebody who is on dialysis, then they probably have what is called a fistula, where they connect one of your veins to a major artery. That's a more natural access, which I did have once upon a time, and it's since got infected, and so now they've had to have the tunnel dialysis catheter, which I've had for the last 6 years. The catheter has 2 ports, One to pull the blood into the dialysis machine so it can then be cleaned, and then a second port that returns the now clean blood back to my system. Now again, because I don't urinate at all, any fluid that I intake remains in my body until treatment. Mind you, I am only allowed a liter, well, I like to cheat and say 1.5 liters of fluid a day in between treatments. And when I have a weekend, that's 2 days in between treatments. 1 liter a day. That's 2 full water bottles. Think about that. That is not easy. It also includes anything that melts at room temperature. So ice cream is counted as fluid, Jell-O, applesauce, ice chips, anything that holds water. So rice, pasta, fruits, all of that has to be calculated into your daily allowance. And it adds up very quickly. Unfortunately, folks, the dietary restrictions are not much better. It's very important that we avoid foods that are high in potassium and phosphorus, which includes some of my favorites, like dairy, processed meats, red meat, potatoes, which means French fries, people, tomatoes, which means tomato sauce, which means chicken parm, penne vodka, and bananas I could live without. But I do miss oranges. It's like I have not had a glass of orange juice in 6 years. That's crazy to me. Not to mention the itchy, sandpaper dry skin, the dry eyes, the achy muscles, the stomach cramps, the muscle cramps, sudden drops in blood pressure that leave you feeling so dizzy, nauseous, the worst migraines of your life. Sometimes I feel like someone is repeatedly hitting me in the right eye with a baseball bat. But by the grace of God, I know in my heart that this will be the year that I get my second miracle kidney transplant. One question that does come up a lot is, does dialysis hurt? Is it painful? The treatment itself is not painful, no. But the after effects can be pretty brutal, leaving me feeling wiped out, drained, and extremely exhausted. And as a content creator, motivational speaker, and a certified health and life coach, there are many Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays that I have to push through all of that sickness and go from dialysis and straight to work. I meet with clients, I structure and prepare for future seminars, which are even sometimes scheduled on the same day as dialysis, and I have to coordinate and navigate that as well. Also, as a content creator, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm scheduled to meet with the producer, Jennifer. She's always on standby and so concerned about how I'm going to feel after my treatments. Sometimes we're on the phone 2 to 3 hours after my treatments, discussing business and working on creating exciting content for all of you. And even after all of that, I will take a nap, have dinner, and then we get right back to work again at around 10 p.m. sometimes until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. No excuses, people, because it's so important to push through and show up. Did I happen to mention that because I'm trached and on a ventilator for life support, that dialysis also requires that I be accompanied by a respiratory therapist to each and every treatment, which guess who has to pay for that out of pocket? Yours truly. So yeah, no days off. There are some days I just have to really push myself and show up, and that's what I want you guys to realize, is that despite my going through dialysis 3 times a week, despite all of the side effects and how horrible I may feel, I still put in the work and do what I have to do to show up, to keep going, to keep fighting, and to never ever give up. Now, is that to say that I don't have days where I feel so physically ill, that I feel so helpless and hopeless and powerless that I don't know how I'll get through another treatment? Of course I do. That is when I turn to all of you. Every single one of your messages, your comments, your rentals, your purchases, your joining as members, your donations to the GoFundMe, your choosing to read my book, watch my short documentary, lights a fire inside of me that helps me to realize my purpose. That is what helps me to dig deep within myself and find that inner strength to keep on going to pursue my life dream and mission, to continue raising much needed awareness and inspire millions on their own personal journey on the road to victory.